Okay, Andy at Backbone Adventures here in Estes Park, Colorado. We have a Kawasaki KRX 1000 transmission on my bench here. I haven't gotten it needs to be rebuilt because it took a hit to a skid plate and cracked the case here. We tried fixing it up, but that's not going to work. So we're waiting for the case half. We got that case half for this portion, but not the upper, which is what we actually need. I had some a guy asked a question about these KRXs popping out of gear, and so that's what this video is going to be about. But first I want to show you a couple things. If you're going to work on this transmission, there's some specialty tools you need. This is the KRX service manual here, and these are some of the specialty tools you need. If you need to pause this video and you can kind of look at some of these things, there are a few things you're probably for sure going to need. It doesn't come apart like a Polaris with regular tools. Polaris transmission, those are pretty easy, pretty dinky little trannies. This is much bigger. But so here is your for your secondary clutch. So I'm going to try and explain this main portion of the transmission here, which is, you know, you have some of your final gears over here, but this is your main portion of your transmission. So you have low gear right here. You can see you have this engagement dog. If you've been inside of a Polaris transmission, you might be able to tell that this engagement dog is much bigger. Everything in here is much bigger. But this is your engagement dog for your low range. It's your low range gear here. Right now I'm in neutral. Spin this, doesn't do anything. This engagement dog is lifted, as you can see. When it goes into low gear, this engagement dog drops down, hooks onto here, and that's what drives it. This is your reverse gear. So that's the second gear right here. It's in the middle. And so obviously when that gets engaged, the shift drum here moves that engagement dog up into that gear, which will engage it in reverse. And then your high gear is all the way down there at the bottom, if you can see it. Yeah, you see it right down there by the case. That's your high gear. I could point, but I'm holding the phone and a light at the same time. But all the way at the bottom there, that's your high gear. Let's see if I can't really. All the way down there is your high gear. And of course, obviously, when this shift drum moves around to the high gear, it pops into that engagement dog. Goes down. You can see that engagement dog goes down and engages on. You can see the slots there. I think hopefully in the video you can see that. Goes down and connects to that high gear. So in answering the question as far as it popping out of gear, I don't really see that being a possibility here. If these, like in a Polaris transmission, it's pretty common that these engagement dogs and the gears themselves will start to round off. If you've ever driven a Polaris, you know they're kind of hard to find that. When they get used for a while, they're kind of hard to find that position in your shifter. You know, when you go to like high range or low range or reverse or whatever, and you go give it throttle and it starts grinding, and that's basically this engagement dog running over the top of the gear because it's not quite engaged, and it rounds it off. And of course, over time, that's going to happen a little bit as well. But in this, I don't really see that happening, because when you switch the KRX or the Terex into gear, you can clearly feel it engage. And if you kind of know what you're feeling, this engagement dog is fully engaging. So I'm not sure that I see it popping out of gear that way. It would grind first, you know, it would run over the top. If it wasn't engaged all the way, that would mean that this engagement dog didn't go down or into the low gear, or, you know, down into the high gear if you're going to high range all the way. But what would happen if it wasn't going in all the way is it would just grind on that because it didn't go down all the way. If it is down all the way and it's popping out, I don't really I'm not really seeing how that could potentially happen with this transmission. I have 10 of these machines, all with roughly about 1,000 miles. I haven't had that happen yet, but I'll tell you what is common, because we used to run Terexes in our fleet for years, and some of these machines would get 8, 9, 10,000 miles on them. And what would happen, getting into them a few thousand miles, is those shift cables would stretch. Now on a KRX, when you're switching these things in and out of gear, switching them in and out of gear with the e-brake on is a little bit harder, moving that shift lever. Potentially stretching the cable, I don't know. They are much easier to shift with the e-brake off. But popping in and out of gear, I mean, I'm just not seeing it. But these, there is an adjustment on your cable here. So if you are popping out of gear, I would give this a shot first. This would probably be I would say it would be your main culprit. But I haven't been into this transmission completely yet. I haven't taken it apart because I'm still waiting for some of these specialty tools. I don't want to get halfway into this thing and realize I absolutely have to have a tool and have parts laying around for, because the way things are working right now with supply chain problems, God knows how long I'm going to wait for some of these parts. I mean, I have some of these bearings here that, I ordered 3 weeks ago, and I don't know when the Kawasaki's out of stock. I don't know when they're going to show up. So I don't want to stay with parts forever. So it's probably going to be a while before I get this transmission rebuilt. But just looking at it and seeing how it functions, and the size of things, I'm not really seeing how this could pop out of gear. Hopefully that answers your question. I'm sorry if I couldn't answer it thoroughly there, but that's what I would say would be the first thing to check, would be adjusting your shift cable. And then after that, I mean, once I finally do get into this transmission, when I get some parts, I will post a video about this and show you anything I can show you. But it's pretty easy to see how it functions here, and so maybe kind of use your thoughts on it. I'd like to hear your comments and your thoughts, and see if we can't figure out what the problem is, why they're popping out of gear. Sorry if that didn't help too much, but have a good day.